Peter Taylor, greetings from New York City.
First on the block.
Yeah, he's first on the block. Michael Frank, hi. Michael, greetings you all back. I'm Ted Ryman in Cape Town in the Republic of South Africa. Gordon Smith, good evening from Denmark, just outside lovely Copenhagen. What time is it? In Copenhagen, it's Central Europe time, 2200, 10 p.m. there. It's already 4 o'clock, Baton Rouge says, in Charleston. Welcome to all of you. Fun show. Lots of topics again today, Julia. We're going to cover the waterfront, as they say. Julia Ahrens checking in from Cleveland, rainy Cleveland, she says. Mary Jude Szymanski, Philadelphia. And on as we get this one through the proverbial starting line. Live from Studio B here in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District. We're at the Beach Street Yacht Club. My co-host Julia Vauchel, as usual, is bright and cheerful today in red.
And white.
And white. She's got her Stanford shoes on. I'm not sure how I can get a shot of those, Julia. If you lift your foot up later on, I might be able to get a shot of them. I'm in green. I'm over here on the starboard side, and the two shot I'm on the left, but that's the way the cookie and the camera crumbles. Welcome, everybody. Show number 662 for Friday, the 17th of bloody November. Almost Thanksgiving here in the States. Next week, Thursday, is Thanksgiving. Somebody turns 70 officially on Friday. And then on Saturday, the Michigan Wolverines play Julie Ahrens' Ohio State team in the biggest college football game really of the year, almost every year, not quite, but certainly in the Big Ten, that conference up there. Julia, I trust you are well.
I am.
Any hot tips?
I only am wearing red and white because it's our big game here too in little Northern California.
This is Stanford playing University of California, Berkeley, across the bay here from us. We had the big sale on the week of the big. We're going to recap that in a few minutes. And so Julia's in her Stanford Cardinal is the official color, right? Cardinal.
Right. Yeah, and it's also an elegy to the dismissal of the Pac.
Nobody cares about the Pac-12 falling apart except you and me and a few other people.
I care about it because it's symptomatic of what's happening to college sports.
Yeah, that is, you mean pay to play. Yeah. NIL, name, image, and likeness.
Right.
What happens here in the States now, probably happened for a long time, but now college athletes used to be unable to, in the past they could receive under national collegiate regulations no money. Couldn't even have a car loaned to them by an alum. Mm-hmm. Now, because there's so much pressure and there was so much under the table, now the so-called NIL, the sailors, the athletes, the sailors could too if they're collegiate sailors, could license their name, image, and likeness to a sponsor in return for big bucks, NIL, and they're making millions, some of them, the top ones. And of course, it's creating quite a structure where you got the haves and the have-nots.
On a college team, which is ridiculous.
On a college team. But, it's also, it's the lay of the land, I'm afraid. We said Mary Jude is on in Philly. David James across the river. Nice to see you earlier this week, David. He was one of the commentators at St. Francis for the big sale, he having gone to Stanford. And Chris Exley is in Salem, Massachusetts. You haven't had any witch trials there lately, have you, Chris? 300 or 400 years ago. Pedro, foiling sailor, racing this weekend, the RS Arrow in the New South Wales State Championships in Australia and Balmoral. We will have to watch on replay. Greetings from Sonoma, Don Lunabos up in wine country as usual. Henry Thorpe in Portsmouth in the UK. Hi, Henry. I haven't seen you on a while.
Yeah, it's been a
Clayton Allen Embley, greetings from Savannah, Georgia. Jeff Kitson in my beloved home state of Michigan up in the Great Lakes region. Warren Schosser down in Brisbane. Morning, Tom and Julia, where it is Saturday morning. Missed you guys over the last couple weeks. Warren, we missed you.
Especially-
Julia, you see what Gordon Smith is saying? Fabulous scarf, Julia.
Oh, yes.
He likes your scarf.
It's the St. Francis Yacht Club scarf.
And Pindar says, Green, Brown, never in town. Well, he's not in town. He was in Florida. Then I think he was in Malaga. And now, I know he was in Malaga at the World Sailing Meet. Now he's skiing at his chalet in France.
Oh.
But he's still watching the show. Welcome, Andrew Pindar. Congratulations on you on the board. You sit on the board of the Magenta organization, and they won one of the top awards from World Sailing.
Right, I saw that.
Fritz Mueller in Miami, where we are picking up from big weather. Fritz, I got to say that the Miami Yacht Club, which is preparing to have our Olympic trials down there, and this is by way of a rant, and I'm not going to go into it. U.S. sailing is so mucked up. And one hears that there's some stuff that's gone on, including the esteemed Olympian, J.J. Fetter, who has been chair of the U.S. Sailing's Olympic Selection Committee. She's resigned this week in disgust. JJ would never say that because she wouldn't say, Julia.
She's more polite.
She's more polite than either, well, certainly than I, but maybe not more polite than you. But she wouldn't say Shiza if she had a mouthful. She's so polite. Her letter of resignation, which I've seen, was so polite. But basically, I know, and one hears, and several of you watching have checked in and confirmed, so I have multiple sources, how upset she is about how croutonic U.S. sailing is more than ever, firing coaches.
Yeah.
Olympics are less than a year away, and they're firing their top 3 coaches. It's unfreaking believable how badly U.S. sailing is being run. I'm not going to say any more than that, but Fritz, that's all you, Fritz Mueller in Miami, because that's where the Olympic trials are supposed to be. U.S. sailing's even gotten a cease and desist order, one hears, against one of our coaches who was helping on his own time with Miami Yacht Club to organize the trials. You know, you got to write sailing instructions. You got to figure out how you got to run the details of the trials. The leadership, starting with the non-sailing CEO, if I may say.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Okay, that's enough of a rant. Even Clark Chapin, who is a U.S. sailing stalwart and has done more for our sport in this country than just about anybody else I know, even he is not amused. And he's saying hi from a brisk Plymouth, Michigan. And they have tonight our AGM, our awards banquet for our club, our little club, Portage Yacht Club. Alistair Murray. Hi, Alistair. Congratulations again on selling Ronstadt. We're going to get Alistair on, tell us about that. And he's saying, hi, Tom and Julia, 5-hour drive, so we'll be listening, but no comments. And Alistair, please don't watch. Just listen.
Yes.
Philip Laughin, Rainy Davis Island, Tampa, Florida, Good Friday. And it's not Good Friday in a religious sense. Carlos Aviz, haven't seen you on a while. Carlos down in Brasilia, the capital of that fabulous country, fabulous sailing country as well, of Brazil. And the esteemed Paul Callahan, the father of 2 Harvard sailors, terrific sailors. And Paul says Harvard beats Yale 31-10. Does that mean they're beating? Is that game going on right now, Paul? Is it on a Friday? That's college football, no doubt. Stingray, do they use a different sign language? Okay, clever Stingray. There's been a bit of a controversy over Michigan. University of Michigan's allegedly stealing the signs that send plays. They use signs from the sidelines, the coaches do, to send plays in to their players on the field, rather than in the National Football League, they have radios. You know, well, this is 2023, and I don't know why college doesn't do it, but we won't get into that. Baton Rouge, you can't even get a hamburger hanging in sort of warm Connecticut banner of And I'm not running, Rick's got a classic yacht thing, which I didn't have time to squeeze into the show today, but we will soon. Terrific piece of photography images that he has sent along. He's saying that's the home of the game, the real game, even if it's going to be played in rain and then a plunging wind chill. He's talking about, again, about Harvard, Yale. You can see how here in the States we get all excited about our alma maters. Or is it almas mater?
No.
Is it almas mater or alma maters?
Alma maters.
I hope. I'm sure you're right. The biggest game in the national championship game of the year is going to be Georgia versus Alabama. Clayton's not biased.
That's what they all say.
And he said, look at this. I didn't know this. Clayton says that Georgia high school football has NIL, meaning the players, the sailors. The football players can license their name, image, and likeness out for money. In high school football, Julia, what do you think of that?
I would have thought it was terrific when I was in high school.
Julie Aaron says Ohio State's not really her team, even though she is an Ohioan in Cleveland, but she's definitely not a Michigan fan. Well, sorry, Julie. By the way, I'm going to say in a moment, when I run a quick notice from my mother, how kind Julie Aarons has been with respect to my mother's being under the weather. Ed Worley, hi, Ed. He's got a segment on today. We're pleased to say we have Ed's latest America's Cup Historical Challenge. Fritz Mueller, team sports, as most know, have been pro for some time. No one plays for fun anymore, it seems. Clark Chapin, I don't know that sailors can do that for several reasons, not the least of which is that sailing is not an NCAA. Some of them are varsity teams, Clark, not just NCAA teams. I mean, if they're not, then that's an issue. David James across the bay went to Stanford. I come from a small town, so perhaps that gives me a parochial perspective. But in my little town, we put the manhole covers down before cars drive around. Now, you know that's in reference to?
Yes.
They've got this big Grand Prix, $500 million being spent on this Grand Prix over in Las Vegas this weekend. And one of the manholes didn't get covered.
Oh, it blew up. I mean,
and one of the signs Ferrari car got wrecked going over the manhole cover in what was it, practice one?
Yeah.
Yesterday. John Emmett's got another terrific video. Good morning, afternoon, evening. He is in Weymouth, where he says it's sunny today, or was. Christophe Favreau. Hello, Christophe. Replying to Andrew Pindar. Hello, everybody. Bannereau is saying Paul Callahan has already hit the magic mushrooms, obviously, talking about the Harvard-Yale game. Actually saying, no, we haven't had any recent witch trials, but plenty of craziness. In September, October, the population of the city doubles each weekend, again, for college football, I guess he's referring. Paul Homchick. Hi, Paul, and his erudite bow tie look. We got a lot of comments already. We're not even 13 minutes into the show. Emmett, Ilka's 6th selection should be made at the 2024 World Championships. Okay, not quite sure what that's about. Christophe is in Le Sable d'Olonne in France. Stingray is saying that Slingsby admits that he sometimes points to where the next wind shift is coming, but it's intended as a fake. Is it intended as a fake signal? Well, that's clever, Stingray. Is it a fake signal to Pete Burling? Fritz Mueller saying Miami Yacht Club is where I learned how to sail. They have always generated great talent indeed. Hi, Christopher Gillingham. His wife Jane always saying, they're so gracious, so nice those folks are. Good evening.
They are.
From Leamington, Julia in the UK. Fritz is Mueller saying there's a big controversy, as you Brits and the rest of you in the Commonwealth would say, big controversy in pro cycling, Tour de France, etc., where radios detract from the essence of the sport. Yeah, because the teams are, they got team orders, they got their captain telling them what's going on. I don't know. What does U.S. Sailing actually do for its Olympic program? Gordon Smith is asking. No money, sacking coaches. There doesn't seem a lot left. Well, I know some of the details. I don't want to get into it today, Gordon. We'll do some more checking over the weekend. No doubt we'll talk on Tuesday. But it is croutonic beyond belief. And again, I hope the president, who I quite like, Mr. Jepson, Rich Jepson, he's offered to come on the show, and at the right moment, he hopefully come on and explain all that. Hanfield's in a hospital bed in Rhode Island. In Newport, John, we hope you are doing better. Have a quick recovery. Ryman is saying, then the stewards punished Ferrari for using new parts to repair their damage. It's nuts. Yeah, I saw that too this morning. What else here? Clark Chapin replying to Ryman, no, the regulations expressly prohibited them from doing anything but assigning a 10-place penalty. Yeah, the F1 reg. Sometimes you just have to let the stewards, let the jury, let the judges use their common sense when they're assigning penalties. That's my opinion anyway.
Since you're a longtime judge.
Well, I'm no longer. I haven't judged probably in, I don't know, except very casually at some when they grab me to hear a protest locally. Okay. Please support us, Sailing Illustrated. We've just upgraded the internet. We've now got a 1.2 gigabit download speed and a 200 megabit upload speed. You remember at the very end of the show on Tuesday, apparently due to the APEC conference, the internet here in San Francisco, because of this big conference, the Asia Pacific Economic, it's cooperation, not community, not council, but cooperation. The APEC conference, which is winding down, thank God, today. City's beautifully clean. You read that in your papers and the press, and news, and television report. It's true. They've cleaned the city up, but a lot of overtime, great expense to make it look good for Biden and for Xi and the rest of this gang. It'll all go to hell next week, I guarantee you.
Oh, I hope not.
But we have, apropos the Sailing Illustrated slide, I have spent a few more dollars to get a better internet speed, including and especially an upload speed, so that if for some reason the pipe gets a little rusty due to conferences like APEC or whatever, because you'll see that we had audio right through the show. The video got dodgy in the last few minutes of the show because apparently the upload speed was constrained somewhat by this conference. But apropos all of that, Sailing Illustrated is supported by you, the viewers. We appreciate your support. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And that's how we pay for the internet and the equipment to run this show. Mm-hmm. And to keep Julia happy, I have to get her cough drops and a few other things at her desk.
Right.
Right?
I'm very fussy.
To keep her fussy. I'll tell you, the talent, it's when the technical talent is a lot less fussy.
Oh, that's a matter of opinion.
Than the talent.
That's a matter of opinion.
Okay. Thank you for your support, everybody. We had promised on Tuesday that Graham Sweeney would be our guest, but we've had to raise the postponement flag. And he will come out. He's got all his slides. He sent all the stuff in, but he's having trouble. Speaking of not so much internet, but power, Scottish Power and Light or whatever it's called, is Crutonic. And I said, well, why don't you just take Friday off and we'll do it Tuesday? And he said, well, that's probably the right thing to do. Hi, Tom, Tuesday would be better. That could be really helpful. The Scottish Power Company, SSE, are redirecting our power cables. And to top it all, his dog has just gone lame, cannot use back left leg, and he had to carry her upstairs. So this was it last night, texting with him. So I will take her to the vets in the morning, which means 100-mile round trip on single track roads plus a ferry.
Oh my.
Huh?
Yes.
What a
the dog will really appreciate that, though.
Well, I hope he does. He'd better. Graham Sweeney will be with us on Tuesday. Bless his heart. Also, apropos the segment we ran on Tuesday about my mother, who is not well. She's hanging in there. But thank you all. I got so many nice comments, including and especially from Julie Ahrens, who called me and just said wonderful things. And I know she means it. She's had some struggles too, health-wise. And my mother, she watched the show. She texted. We talked to her after the show. She meant a lot to her. And we're all getting old. At least most of us are. Not all of you, but we all are. And we've got to take things in stride and take good care of ourselves.
Yes.
And celebrate. Go ahead. You were going to say.
We've had a big spate of people lately too. Yeah,
we have, and we'll talk some more about that. So sorry about the pup. Jonathan Frank is saying, Hanfield's making some comments. Chris, actually, is Julia's mic working? Sounds like she's coming through Tom's mic. No, I think her mic. Julia, talk.
I'm talking.
Yeah. Okay, I just turned my mic off. It's on. We had a problem Tuesday briefly with her mic not being on. But speaking of this thing we talked about also on Tuesday, the big sale between the University of California, Berkeley, over in the East Bay here, and Stanford University. Wednesday was the big sale, and that was hosted by St. Francis Yacht Club, as it has been going on now for 19 years. It was a terrific event, big turnout again, up in the dining room. You have the kids, the varsity. There's actually 5 teams racing for each school. So you got the varsity team, you got a women's team, and then you have alumni. And here's the alumni. So you can see the old geezers, including our good friend Tad Lacey and a few others who are the super
over 60s.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
Over 60. For
But
Cal
some of them
Berkeley.
Go ahead a little bit.
Go ahead.
No, some of them are better than that. That's over 40, over 50, over 60. So
there's 3 groups of alumni.
Yeah.
Well, it's a terrific event. They add up all the scores, and sadly, it wasn't very close this time. Stanford really took the whole thing. But the real fun, Julia, is the Battle of the Bands in the dining room upstairs at St. Francis Yacht Club. I hope the fire marshal doesn't ever cotton onto this, because the bands march in, and here's a little live look from Wednesday of the marching band walking in. They've just wrapped up. That was Cal Berkeley. And now, as you see, the racing continues out on the bay. And for the moment, at least, the Cal Berkeley, UC Cal Berkeley band here. And now it looks like the Stanford band, Julia. You see the red, that's the Stanford band, obviously. Is this the Battle of the Bands?
Evidently.
No, the Battle of the Bands is out in the breezeway. They do the Battle of the Bands in the breezeway after they play here.
Well, I've seen Battle of the Bands in here too, Eleanor.
Yes, but they only do a couple songs here, but the cheerleaders and everything.
And yeah, the cheerleaders come in, and they play back and forth for, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes. Can barely hear yourself sing. Meanwhile, the racing continues. There's commentary. And I think what's magical about it, Julia, not only the bands and how exciting it is, but it gets a lot of people into the yacht club, into yacht racing, into sailing that are non-sailors.
Yes.
Even the parents of kids who are on the sailing teams maybe aren't necessarily sailors, which I found interesting.
Yes. We had a good conversation with a family like that. And they come to appreciate all of it.
Yeah, and I guess we don't need to have
We're waiting for.
That's me recording on Wednesday up there, but the band plays. It's good fun. It's just it's a hoot, and it doesn't have to be college teams doing this. I know Clark Chapin's working on doing something with Michigan and Michigan State, but I just think the idea, take a blank sheet of paper and figure out ways to get non-sailors into the yacht club to kind of watch sailing, and the format for the racing could be improved probably.
And parents of sailors, because they come to a different understanding.
Exactly. And it's great fun, and it's something that we ought to do more of, I think, for our sport. And that is get non-sailors in and figure out ways that they find attractive and interested. Okay, enough of all that. It was good fun. Julia, I didn't go to Stanford, obviously. I went to the University of Michigan, but I've been co-opted by Stanfordites and Adney Rose and Julia and a few others. So it's great fun to be there as part of that team. And yes, in fact, Julia did have her slippers on. She's got them on right now, in fact.
Yes.
I think they're completely croutonic, Julia.
Of course they are.
I think they're utterly croutonic, but everyone said the other day that these are not croutonic. Indeed, they're correct. And Julia, I don't know if you can put your feet up now, Julia. A little higher. I don't know if we can get that on the. There it is. There they are. Croutonic. Croutonic.
Well, I bought them that way, but they make people smile.
I hope so. You got to roll yourself back into the table, or we'll have all sorts of problems. Okay, what is being celebrated today, at least in the UK? Julia, any idea? There's a clue behind the lower third.
Gotta be wine.
You think? What kind of wine?
Rosé.
No, close.
Oh, Zinfandel.
It's Zin. Today is
From the United Kingdom?
apparently the World Zin Day. It's celebrated particularly in the UK, but it's also celebrated here in the US. Zinfandel Day, November 7th. I don't like Zin because it's too sweet.
Well, you don't have to drink more of it.
You think?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because there are lots of Zins.
Well, there are, but it is Zinfandel Day. Zin is celebrated on the 17th every year, and it's going to show you how you can indulge in the excitement. Zinfandel is a type of black-skinned, I didn't know that, grape that is typically used for making wines. The grapes are known for their high sugar content, which is useful for making wines with an alcohol percentage of more than 15%. It's a boozy. The Zin, also known as Primitivo, grows best in a warm but not too hot climate. Its taste varies depending on the ripeness of the grapes. Zinfandel Day was created in the UK to give recognition to this exquisite variety of grapes.
Now, is Zin really grown in UK?
Apparently, it's certainly celebrated there.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know, Julia.
I don't either.
That's what they say. Yeah, I saw Paul Homchick saying that Sam Altman has been fired from OpenAI. I don't quite understand the significance of that, but we'll get into that. Thanks, Jonathan Frank. Your kind words about my mother. Yeah, she's in pretty tough shape. I'm not sure she's going to recover by any means fully, but she's plugging along. She's doing okay.
And yeah.
Sorry?
And sounds great.
She does. Are there rules for judging cheerleaders part of the weekend? Only Stingray would think of that. Any flattened trombones or trombonists? Panero is asking. What else? Lots of comments. Wow, lots of comments. Monica Diaz. Monica Diaz. She has been in Malaga. I don't know if she is still there or not. Hope she is. Hope she's had a good week. And the club is so lucky to have front row seats to racing. Most clubs here in New England, this time of year, that's true. But again, I think the point is, Julia, is to get people into yacht clubs, get into events with a reason for coming in to celebrate something tangential to the yacht racing, to the event, not necessarily yacht racing per se.
Yeah, I get the biggest kick out of parents who don't usually get to see what their kids are doing, and all of a sudden there's teamwork and it's good people and fun and.
Well, yeah, we had quite a discussion later on in the afternoon after things had wound down about parents, I'm now repeating, as have you said, about parents who were not sailors, but their kids were attracted to sailing through high school and then went to college and are part of their sailing teams.
Yeah. And
really didn't know that too much. I mean, they didn't understand what was going on out in the water.
Yeah, no.
With this 2v2
yeah.
team racing at Crutonic. Jody Shields has woken up Saturday morning down in Sydney and Wanji. Maybe offer free cocaine and hookers. That will get the crowds into yacht clubs. Julia, that deserves certainly a quiet shake. Julie Aarons likes your shoes. Man, there's a lot of comments today. Clark Chapin, sadly, I had to abandon the attempt to replicate the event at Portage Yacht Club, that is between Michigan and Michigan State, due to the level of support we would have needed from our small number of racing sailors. It was also difficult to successfully explain the concept to the nearby alumni clubs from both schools. Okay. They like your shoes, Julia.
All right. Oh, we'll haul them out.
They like your shoes. What else here? Excuse me. Receding. My cough is almost gone. Tree and Oski behaved this time. Now, Tree and Oski are the two, what do you call them? Mascots, right?
Yeah.
The mascots. Okay. Man, there's a lot of comments. No, we're not talking about banjos. Monica Diaz, I live here in Malaga, but got no invitation, accreditation to be at the event. Well, that's too bad. Okay, well, that's what's going on here. We get just before we get into the B block, we do have a Bravo Zulu. We want to recognize that this was a 1-minute video. It's not an ad per se for Rolex, but this is another one of their videos just out. It's just come out in the last 24 hours. And it is a celebration of our sport, which they don't call sailing, by the way. They call it yacht racing or yachting. And this video, listen please carefully to the words. It's only a minute long. It's a Rolex video, and it is très cool. Rolex and I should say Rolex and yachting, a natural affinity.
Mm-hmm.
It is said the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But at sea, charting a course comes with a host of uncontrollable factors. The whim of the winds, the pull of the currents, the force of the waves. Such overwhelming powers can only be met with unwavering will, keen experience, and a sharp intuition, reaching for the highest expectations, summoning the deepest resources. Passionately, furiously, in all humility. Thus, a course between where you are and where you aim to go is never a straight line. Yet, more often than not, it is the right one.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, eh?
Mm.
Indeed, just fabulous stuff. And I could watch that again. I'm going to post it on my Facebook page, I think. Ed Worley says, what a great video.
Mm-hmm.
Fritz Mueller saying, excellent video. Bravo, Rolex, indeed.
Always. They do such a good job of that.
Joe Cool saying, conjunction union, combination of circumstances or events usually promoting a crisis juncture. What? Never word for the day. Oh, new word for the day. Okay. A conjunction union. Okay. Again, fabulous video. Bravo Zulu. And great copyright. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Julie, when I was watching that earlier today. It was just whoever wrote the script, copywriting was fabulous. Alex Hayworth saying, every time I buy a Rolex, my bank account moves in a straight line. He means South. Gordon Smith saying that was wonderful. Yeah. Yeah.
Not one foiling boat. Go figure.
Rolex are always on it with their videos. They are indeed. Okay. Thanks, Rolex. Thanks for that. Thanks also to John Emmett, who weighs in with the Coach's Corner. Our super Fozy, John Emmett, in sunny Weymouth.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Welcome to sunny Weymouth. It's nice to be back. It does feel like winter has sprung. Today's Coach's Corner, I'm going to talk to you about teams. Now, I was really pleased with a little video Lily put together many years ago now when she was at Southampton University, Southampton Solent, where she did her sports media, and her final project, if you like, or part of it, was a little video that she put together about me, and she also did another video about Echo, who was her apprentice. And in that video, she interviewed a lot of people close to me, so Laura Baldwin, who I worked with for 2004 campaign, and my dear old mum. And one of my mum's earliest memories was me saying I really wanted to represent my country. So today it's very much about teams. So we get to the end of the season now. My last interview and video was from the inlands at Draycott Water. I think you probably remember we previously showed on the show young Jess, who's just come into the Ilka class, a really good role model, and that was her home club, sailing. They've got the Draycott Water Sailing Academy, and that being part of a team is very important. That's what I really enjoy. And for me, I remember getting the squad jacket and being part of the British sailing team was a really big thing for me. And yeah, being part of any team, and you know, the British team, arguably the most successful of the sailing teams, and you know, that success breeds success. But it's also this time of year when we have lots of teams. So I've talked recently about the Olympic qualification, and for those smaller countries, thinking sort of emerging nations and so on, you qualify the country, you probably get to go to Olympics. So many congratulations once again for people who did that, the Pan Am Games, and I'll try and give a bit of coverage of those events going forward. But for them, you know, it's amazing. But when they go, they might be the only person from their country at the Olympic Games. That's not uncommon. And you know, the British sailing team or something, which is wonderful to be part of, is a whole powerhouse because you've got so many experts to accompany you. But I think it's more than that. It's more the fact that you've got a dedicated meteorologist. There was somebody whose dedicated job was to go running around giving the athletes sliced ice in Japan, because it's very hot, very humid, and that was a really important thing. But that team atmosphere is really important, to be part of a winning team and to build those foundations. So we've talked a little bit about, you know, the coaches accepting the sailors, sailor accepting the coaches, everybody working hard together. But that team atmosphere, it's je ne sais quoi. You can't quite put your finger on it, but it is part of winning those medals. And yeah, this time of year, it's the end of season, so people will maybe transition classes in the Ilkers from 4 to 6, 6 to 7, and they're having their squads. So we've got lots of training happening at the academy. I'll try and do a few more walks and talks about what I'm getting up to. But yeah, building a team, it's really important, and it's there for the long haul. I look at Mickey Beckett, etc. You know, those guys have been training against each other for a long time to get to that really top level. And you know, the Australian team, they have that strong squad system. But being a team, it's not only training together, it's working together, it's having that buy-in. And yeah, you know, everybody wants to be part of a winning team, don't they? So there we go. Enjoy the show and hopefully catch you later.
John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. Appreciate, as always, John's submissions. And he is fit. He keeps winning regattas. Well, what is he? He's still young, Julia.
He is.
He's young.
He is. But I'm proud of him because he really does work at keeping me fit.
Yeah, he does. And he's a good man, and we appreciate his regular submissions. Speaking of good men, and women for that matter, but J. Frederick Bland, is that comment still there? Has it disappeared? I texting with James this morning about a naval matter, no big deal, but he said, "Oops, you're alive today."
Yeah.
So he was a little late arriving, but I also know, Julia, that he had he's very fit. He presses, I don't know how much, but he's a big, strong boy,
Right.
and he sails, and he's a major contributor to the sport.
Right.
Naval Academy grad. He was a submariner in our Navy, for a long time. The guy had a doctor's appointment today, and he said he's clean as a whistle.
Great.
So we talk about, fitness, and he is one of these guys who had, he's
And
60,
he works at it too.
60 something. I
Yeah.
think.
Easy.
And he's saying it's 80 F and sunny in Texas, Austin, Texas.
Perfect.
TJV, Transat Jacques Vabre, we've been talking about that since they had their Stardust interruptus a couple of weeks ago. 2 of the 4 fleets are now finished, including, and especially as we told you on Tuesday, Banque Populaire 11 won the Ultime race. We filled you in on that on Tuesday, but now we have the results of the 50 class, the Ocean 50s, and that was won by Thibault. Is that how you pronounce that in French?
Might be Thibault.
Thibault Vauchel-Camus, and Quentin Vlamynck, the 2 of them on Solidaris and Peloton, the winners of the TJV Normandy to Le Havre, from Normandy, Le Havre down to Martinica, in the Ocean 50 class. And this says before jury, that was provisional in case there were any protests. There have not been. They have won. This is our cover slide today. Bravo Zulu to them in heavy rain at the end of a day which had been interspersed with squalls. Why do they talk about the weather? The weather, who cares? With squalls and long calm periods, Thibaut, Julia?
I think so.
Thibaut Vauchel-Camus and Quentin Vlamynck crossed the finish line of the TJV Normandy Le Havre off Fort de France in Martinique. Today was yesterday, I think, at 19:07:47 local time. And that was 11 days rather than 11 hours and change. Bravo Zulu to them. There it is. That's the 4,200 nautical mile course from Le Havre to Martinique, passing the Cape Verde to starboard was 11 days, 11 hours, 22 minutes and change. Their average speed for the theoretical course was 16.54 knots. However, they actually sailed 5,432 and change nautical miles at a average speed of 19.
Wow.
Almost 20 knots. The French duo have led the race since just before Cape Finisterre, but went also first to cross an intermediate finish line off Lorient after the racers were required to make that 6-day stop there less than 24 hours after the start. They had to go into Lorient to sit out a huge storm on the Bay of Biscay. And of course, so too did the 40s, and so too the IMOCAs, which never started. They stayed in the Le Havre that whole time. So speaking of the IMOCAs, we want to get to that because I know that's the big fleet. That's the thing that everybody is watching. And there's been a big change in the standings there. If you look, you see Thomas Rouillant and Morgan Lagraffiere, is that right? Have now taken the lead. And you may recall that the boats to the north, including Justine Matreau, this is Justine, who was leading on Tuesday by a lot. Well, the whole northern crowd have fallen back, and this is Thomas Rouillant and the crowd from the south, including Thomas Rouillant and Sam Goodchild and Johan Richmond and Samantha Davies are all down here in this pack. Jerome Bayou and Franck Camas, who were probably the favorites. And you can see they are now the top 5. And Boris Herrmann and Will Harris, who are favorites of ours. Boris, a German who's sailing for the Swiss, for the Société Nautique Genève. And Will Harris, is he Brit or American? I think he's a Brit. And they've teamed up. And they've come good, too. They're up to 6th now. And Justine Matreau, you see at the bottom, has fallen to 7th. Now, speaking of Boris and Will, here's a video from on board as they make their way toward Martinique in not quite the money, not quite podium position, but in the top 7.
Yoo-hoo! Nice foiling here. Good morning. That's how it looks here on the Vlamynck the Explorer. We have still the same setup since a few days here. 3 head sails. That is quite unique, no? It's all Will's meticulous trimming work which makes this work. But the sails are not really designed for being triple-headed. We have a little light patch here. And before we had quite strong winds as well, going 30 knots sometimes. We see some sargasso seaweed, some flying fish. Look, maybe you can see here. Okay, well, what's the story here?
Update, yeah, all right. I take control, thank you. So now Boris has showed you what's going on outside the boat. Little life outside. I'll show you a bit of what's going on really inside. So we're taking in turns doing our watches. We swap every 3 or 4 hours, I would say, in the night time. And during the watch, the person is usually sat here, trimming the sails, or they're sat in this chair doing the navigation. and the other person is here trying to sleep in the bunk, which in the day is almost impossible. It's so hot. But yeah, so we fight a bit at night time to see who gets to sleep in the bunk. But anyway, I'll show you a bit about the final few days of the race. We've got a final few strategy calls to make. So here's our navigation screen. And up here in the north, this is Justine making her way south. We ran a little routing for her. And it says she's going to arrive 11 hours before us. So big bravo to her if she pulls that off. We sailed through a 50+ knot storm last night, I think. And down here in the south, this is us. And we have the leaders, Jan Elias and Johan, and then Tom Royal and Morgan Legravier. And we're going to choose one of these routings, basically, to sail a little bit to the north first and then finally to the finish in Martinique. And at the moment, we're going to be, 11 hours behind Justine, but that can all change. The forecast could be different to expected. We could sail faster than we thought. And we also have lots of boats around us, sort of less than 30 miles away, who we're going to have a good fight with to the finish. So our goal is going to be to try and overtake a few of them, or us just trimming some sails in the meantime. And we're going to give it our all for these last few days. So wish us luck, and we'll see you all in Martinique. Cheers. Anything else, Boris? Say goodbye.
Cheers, goodbye.
One of the few English language teams, Boris, of course,
yeah.
being German. So it's interesting. It looks like it's going to be close between 6th and 7th. Bravo Zulu to everybody that makes this race happen. And we'll have an update on Tuesday, as it looks like the Imokas will finish over the weekend. And then the 40s will be coming in behind them in due course later next week. The favorites, though, have won, as we said, in the 50, class 50. So that's the latest.
They look rested.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they can do that, but they look, fine and rested and sailing in the sun.
They're veterans.
Yeah.
They're veterans, and they know how to do this. They know how to pace themselves. They know how to sleep in any condition, and they do look rested.
Yeah.
We push on here to the SSL Gold Cup. We've also been updating you on that. They are in the round of 16 now. Bermuda got through, we told you on Tuesday, and they're in the round of 16. They have 5-hour videos of the whole racing. I wish they would boil that down to a 2-3 minute recap, but they have so far haven't been doing that. And I don't want to play even an excerpt from the 5-hour thing, but it's getting interesting. The racing has been close. The boats look good. Commentary is so-so, but it's cool. And Bravo Zulu to them. They started out with a lot of teams, 56 national teams, and they're whittling that down now. They're in the, as we say, the round of 16. There's actually a few more teams than that because there's buys through to the finals. But they are progressing, and that is the SSL Gold Cup, the 56 national teams. And the chart, you can see here, I'll go to camera 4 again. I don't know why, Julie, I can never find camera 4 anymore.
I don't know.
I moved it on my chart, on my here.
Yeah.
But they're in the round of 16, which runs the 16th through the 20th. So another few days. And Malaysia's doing well, I see. And it looks like they're going to get through. Then these other teams are racing. They race back and forth. It looks like Lithuania and Canada are going to get through from what I see. So the first and second place teams will advance. There's some teams that are already seeded, as you know. We talked about this before. In the round of 8, that's USA, Argentina, Poland, Brazil, Switzerland, Norway, Sweden, and France. So they call that the round of, the 8th finals, really, but then there's is really 16 teams in that, right? 2, 4, 6, there's 16 teams total in the 8th finals. They've got to sort some of this out. A little hard to understand, but even harder sometimes to explain. Maybe I'm just a crouton. Right. The SSL Gold Cup, that's taking place, and we'll follow that and update you.
That's quite an operation.
On Tuesday. Yeah, it is. It's cool. I think it's great for the sport.
Oh, it is.
What else there? We go on for comments. Nice to see Henry Thorpe. Henry Thorpe is on. Longtime Henry. The north-south split back in the TJV is really interesting in the monohull class. Yes, it is indeed. Fog Machine saying the forecast is for a light ridge between the northern route and Martinique will close. Justine, she might maintain top 10. She might maintain even top 5, Fog Machine is saying. Michael Roth in Honolulu. Hi, Michael. Nice to see you on. Jonathan Frank, hey, here's an idea. Go sailing. What a good idea to promote sailing. Go sailing. Not up on the foils, but still hauling arse. John Hanfield, who's an American, talking like he's a Brit. Alex Hayworth, investment and talent work. 3 of the top 6 are Artemis Academy shorthanded graduates. That's interesting. I did not know that. Thank you, Alex. Lots of other comments. There's Pindar saying Will Harris is definitely a Brit. Yeah, I knew he was. I just had a brain fade there for a minute, Andrew. We've had him on the show by tape delay. I don't think we ever had him on live. Definitely a Brit. Oh, and their yacht club affiliation is Monaco, not Geneva. So it's not SNG. It's the Yacht Club de Monaco. Thank you for that, Andrew. He's had some ties with both Gestad Yacht Club and SNG in the past. Ted Ryman, my kind of nap. Did you see that? Ryman liked that pillow and looking up and being comfortable. Well, long hours, so you want to be comfortable. Greg Phillips, what a fabulous video. Yeah, that was a cool video. That was a cool video. What else?
The SSL lunch at the World Sailing Conference yesterday, having struggled for recognition previously, the tipping point now looks as though the representative SSL were swamped by MNAs and senior World Sailing hierarchy.
They were at the World Sailing Conference. This is Pindar.
Yeah.
Tipping point looks to be now as representatives of SSL were swamped. Okay, so I guess what he's saying is that they were very popular. The SSL reps were very popular. The MNAs that were there saying, we like this, we're glad we're involved, keep us involved.
Yep.
And maybe those that are not involved say we want to be involved because World Sailing has something north of 100 MNAs.
Yep.
Right? Is that right, Andrew? Andrew's on here. Okay. Sailing in France is bigger than Formula One, always has been due to many French. Yeah, France owns offshore sailing, at least this kind of.
Yes.
This maybe not around the buoys offshore sailing, or maybe not monohull racing out around Fastnet Rock or down to Hobart, or the Bermuda style type racing that New York and we do here in the Northeast of this country. Cool stuff.
Yes. Tom
lost your mic. Come on, I haven't lost my mic, John Hand. My mic is loud and clear. I can see that. I can hear myself in my earbud. Maybe I'm just starting to talk a little low. Okay, here we go. I'll speak up. This day in history, 17th of November, 1973, Julia.
Oh, yes. That's a good year.
Good year. 50 years ago today. Here's your first and only clue.
Nixon resigned.
Nope. 50 years ago today, 73. What happened? Was Nixon. Obviously, that is Richard Milhous Nixon, who was president in that period. He was born in 1913 and died in 1994. David James, ring, ding, ding, ding. He's got it. You see what David James is saying in the comments?
I am not a crook.
On this day in history, Richard Nixon said, I am not a crook. He told the Associated Press, the AP, people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I remember that.
I know.
I am not a, he you know, I'm getting jolly too, but not as jolly as Nixon was at the end. I am not a crook. Can't do it.
No.
Julia.
No, I was across the street from him.
You were?
Yeah.
Did you work for him?
Yeah, sort of.
Gordon Smith saying, tongue in cheek, of course, did Nixon start his own podcast? Stingray saying, the first crook. Nixon has a plumber to unclog something. Good one. Fog Machine, good one. No, it was not the visit to China. It was not Watergate. Well, it was post-Watergate. I am not. That's fun. Correct. 50 years ago today, this day in history, how time flies. Speaking of presidents, and quite a bit more than 50 years ago today, what else happened on this day in history? You know who that is, Julia?
No.
You know who that is? Speaking of presidents, it says the Water Rat Sailing Club, Toronto.
That's who that is.
Ontario. You know who that is?
Yeah.
Who is it? Does that help?
Paul, you're going to say your friend.
Our friend Paul Henderson,
Yeah.
former president of ISAF, I think maybe even IWRU, which became ISAF. He was president for 10 years. Today is Paul's 98th birthday. Happy
89th.
89th. Did I say 98? Happy 89th, Mr. President. And best wishes
looking good.
For many, many more. He is looking good. And thank you to Martha Henderson, who posted that on Facebook, and I grabbed it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, Julia, when you go on, that Water Rats picture I found on the internet. So you go online to find pictures of whomever.
Yeah.
And when you go on and you search Paul Henderson sail, and there are more occurrences of picture, there are more pictures of Paul on Sailing Illustrated, pictures of him from promotions, from being on the show, than there are other pictures,
How did that happen?
Because he's been on the show so much.
Yeah.
One of our favorite Fozy.
He is.
Clark would tell us he's been on the show something like, a dozen times? I don't know.
Easy. Yeah.
David James, nowadays being a crook is apparently not disqualifying. Henderson, a guest here. That's right. Paul Henderson, fin sail. Yeah, he is. That is a shot of him sailing a fin. He sailed the FD. He sailed the Star. Sailed the International 14. And maybe he celebrate many more birthdays. 89.
Yep.
Anybody else have a comment? There's an interesting comment. Homchick is saying that Arnold Schwarzenegger was inaugurated as the California governor 20 years ago today. America's Cup, the 37th edition. Here's the Cup date for today. Bravo Zulu to Tom Slingsby and the other award winners, but we're going to talk about Tom for a minute. He's had a three-peat. He's now won Yachtsman of the Year for the third time, and well-deserved this year, and to say nothing of the past years.
Yeah.
So he was, on Tuesday night, was awarded Yachtsman of the Year, Bravo Zulu, and a cool video updating on American Magic, but starting out with a little bit of Bravo Zulu for Tom in this report.
Tom Slingsby, let's start by saying congratulations on your third World Sailor of the Year award. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels pretty cool. Obviously, it's an individual award, but I was part of some great teams with American Magic and the Australia Sail GP team, so I feel like they deserve it as much as I do. I was just sort of the face of it, but I had amazing teams behind me.
That event in Villanova probably came at a nice time for the judges to see your name. Do you feel a bit like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think the AC one, I think there were a couple of other teams there that won 3 world titles in a row, and then maybe the AC World Series was the thing that put it over the limit. But the public voting, it's nice to win something that's public voted.
Let's go back to today. What were the goals when you left the dock today with Patriot?
Obviously, we're still sort of essentially commissioning the boat. We had one good day on Tuesday, and we're just trying to build off that. The boat is very different. It might look the same, but there's a lot of control systems and things like that which are different, and we're just trying to expand on that and keep the development happening.
We spoke to Dimitri, your mechatronics lead, and he said that the changes in the rules have allowed them to kind of exploit those changes with different systems on the boat. Do you feel like you may be able to do new maneuvers, new sailing techniques with these AC-75s, the next generation?
I'm not sure if you'll be able to do essentially any different type of sailing maneuver out there. What the new rule does with the closed loop control system is it allows you to be a lot more accurate and sort of save your oil. You're not going to overshoot systems and things like that as much, so that's where it helps. But no, I can't imagine we're going to do many crazy different maneuvers. No flips or 360s out there, but yeah, who knows?
Maybe allow you to do something different with the sail setup now.
Yeah, for sure. The sails, you can sort of control them a lot more accurately, and you can move them together. You can move them split. So you got to just figure out what works best.
Today the conditions were 15 knots, a little bit bumpy, but not too bad. Were those conditions you'd expect Patriot to be comfortable sailing with?
Yeah, I think those are the conditions. Patriot is known to be fast. She's known to be a bit sticky in the lighter airs and a bit more bump. We've got adhedral foils, which generally give you a little less margin in the waves, and then also it's a bit flatter bottom compared to the deep bustle, so it is a bit sticky in the light. So, but in those conditions, it was half a metre, 0.7 of a metre waves maybe, and 15 to 18 knots. Yeah, we're ripping along, doing over 40s upwind. That's pretty cool.
Based on what you've just said, can we expect the new American Magic AC-75 to look very, very different to Patriot?
I don't know if I'm giving anyone a scoop here, but yes, the new AC-75 will look different. This is a lighter air venue, and I think the team and we all have learnt that you've got to have a boat that can go in and out of the water comfortably and not get a huge drag hit when it does touch down. So yeah, the boat it'll have a bustle. There you go.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, a couple observations. I agree wholeheartedly with Stingray, who says Slingers oozes charisma. The guy, he's naturally, I've done a couple campaigns with him, and he's just naturally a hell of a nice guy, and he's smiling. And what you see is what you get with most of us on television. That's why a guy like Nixon didn't play so well on TV, because he looked like a crook, especially after he had a 5 o'clock shadow. Turns out he was a crook. Tom Slingsby looks like a happy guy, very smart guy, relaxed, cool stuff. A couple other observations. I thought that was one of the best videos we've seen yet out of ACE, America's Cup Events.
Yes.
Because, Julia, I think you would agree. The question, in fact, I don't know who that was. Does anyone know it was that? It sounded like Gladwell a bit. And I don't know that Richard's in Europe, but maybe he is. And if it wasn't Richard, can any of you ID who that was? Because I thought it was the questions were quite a bit more informed and quite a bit more interesting than we have seen and heard. John is saying, Emmett is saying, I just hope that there isn't one team with a huge speed advantage. Completely agree. And Stingray is saying his new wife is giving birth soon, so he will miss Jeddah. But in recognition of the huge event, they plan to name the boy Camille. I don't think so. But it is true. I have this slide. There's some breaking news from a day or so ago. Tom is not going to sail in Dubai for SailGP. Now, whether he also misses Jeddah, I haven't seen an announcement to that effect. Has any of others of you seen that he will? It makes sense. I mean, he's going to go to presumably Australia or the U.S., wherever they're living, and look after the birth of his baby with his new wife. Well, they got married, a year ago? Was it not? He was earlier this year, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Better start adding up the months, Julia.
I don't.
Was it 9 months between when they got married and having
9 months and a day.
Okay, it must be. Not that I care.
No.
Yeah, I agree, John Emmett. Hopefully this is a competitive thing, but it sounds like, it looks like, but it's not certain. Whether Jeddah's going to happen, but whether or not Slingsby will be there if it does happen.
Gladwell said it was Justin Chisholm the only journalist on the AC-34 recon team.
Okay, so that's Gladwell saying it was not. I cannot tell a lie. It was not I. So thank you, Richard, for that. It sounded a bit like Richard, and it sounded like his normal erudition, like he knew what he was talking about, because Gladwell does know that. And it's Justin Chisholm. Okay, Justin is quite a good journalist. I mean, of course he is.
Yeah.
Patriot has had surgery. No, but it does sound like Baton Rouge, like their new AC, that is New York Yacht Club's American Magic, is going to have a bustle in their hedgerow. What album, what band is that from?
It was after my time.
Oh, Stingray will know. A lot of people on here will know. There's a bustle in your hedgerow, my hedgerow, your hedgerow. Yeah, interesting comments from Slingers. The new closed-loop control systems, opportunities in the new rule. Yes, indeed. We'll see what they've got. I think America, Led Zeppelin, well done, Stingray. Ryman's got it. You would expect those two guys to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Alex Hayworth said it's Chisholm. Is Gladwell on? Yeah, he is. Hi, Richard. TFE to replace TS in the UAE. No, I don't think so. I'm not sure they'd let me into the UAE at this point. I've been to Dubai many times, Bahrain. Where else? I guess those are the only two. Not been to Saudi. Justin is a superb AC reporter. Agrees, Stingray. Zeppelin. A lot of fans of Zeppelin. Hello, Graham Sweeney. He's back with it. I hope your dog's okay, Graham. We've given everybody your apologies, and I hope that Scottish Power and Light, whatever your power company is called, has got your power on. We're looking forward to your report on Tuesday. And whether Tom is also missing Dubai or not, I don't know the answer to that, but he's apparently, by all accounts, SailGP has announced that he's not going to, whether he's going to miss Saudi Arabia, but he is apparently missing Dubai. Julie Aaron's agreeing Slingsby is just terrific. Okay. Oh, there's Graham. He's saying dog is high on new drugs and dreaming of sheep. Okay.
Good.
Maybe he's dreaming of other dogs. Yeah, to Baton Rouge, I think you're right. I think there's been quite a bit of work. There's been some cosmetic surgery and more to Patriot. How is the dog? Well, I think, Julie, we answered that question. Yeah. So now I have another video. This about and I like it. It's from the Brits, and it's about the upcoming Women's America's Cup and Youth America's Cup, and Hannah Mills has updated us on that nicely. Have a look.
So this is the first time ever we've had a Women's America's Cup, which is a bold statement and one that I'm personally very excited about for the future of sailing. So this time round, there's a Youth America's Cup and a Women's America's Cup. All the competitors for the America's Cup have to put forward a youth and a women's team. But also, really excitingly, there's 6 more spots outside of this. So 6 more countries entered youth and women's cup teams as well. So we're going to have 12 teams at the Youth Cup and 12 teams at the Women's Cup. So it's just this huge opportunity to bring new youth talent, exciting new youth talent into the America's Cup scene, but then also bring women into the fold as well and upskill, bring opportunity, give experience, so that hopefully the future of sailing is more inclusive. The Youth and Women's America's Cups will both be sailed in the AC40, so it's a 40-foot monohull foiling machine, and it's got 4 sailors, so you've got 2 helms, 1 on each side, 2 trimmers sitting behind the helms, 1 on each side. And actually the helm role is quite an interesting role, because actually the helm's doing obviously the steering, but also the boards and the flight control a little bit. Although it's autopiloted, there's still quite a lot going on with the helm managing the foils. So that'll be a really new skill for a lot of the helms to learn. And then the trimmer role, they've got control of the big mainsail and then the jib. So the leeward trimmer does the jib and the windward trimmer's doing the main. So for the Youth America's Cup and the Women's America's Cups, the teams that we're going to have are GBR, New Zealand, America, Italy, France, Switzerland. And then the non-cup teams, we've got Spain, Australia, Canada, Netherlands, Germany and Sweden. format for the racing is quite simple. It's going to be fleet racing initially, so you're going to have 2 separate pools, 6 and 6. So the first pool will be the 6 teams that are associated with an America's Cup team, and then the other pool will be the 6 teams that aren't associated with an America's Cup team. They'll do 9 fleet races, and then the top 3 from each pool will go into another pool. They'll do some more fleet racing, and then the top 2 teams from that will shoot it out in a winner-takes-all match race for the inaugural Women's America's Cup title and the Youth America's Cup title. With Athena Pathway, which is the British Youth and Women's America's Cup Challenge teams, we've just taken ownership of our AC40 simulator, so we've got that set up back home in the UK, so that's a huge step in the kind of progression to getting on the boats and getting sailors upskilled in the different roles. The sim has been amazing, just to start to learn the buttons, what the controls do, how different things affect different things, but then in real life on the water going 40 to 50 knots, pretty out of your comfort zone, and you're learning a completely new skill in many respects. It was really, really intense, but amazing experience. I'm really excited for the first ever Women's America's Cup. I think it's such a bold, huge thing to do and to put the event down and to have the event here in Barcelona alongside the America's Cup itself. I think is a big statement, and I'm really just proud to be a part of that and try and make it as big a success as it can
be. Yeah. See James Bland's comment. He said the couch is moving, but there's barely a reason to be in the boat on the water. Could run it in a simulator with an open bar. I don't know, Julia. I hope. I don't know who's the Americans going to be. I don't know who from very many of the other countries, but we do know Hannah's probably going to be steering for the Brits, right? Yeah. And
she's wonderful.
I hope Olivia Price and her team, they got a great team being put together down in Oz, and they're making a great promotion for both the youth and the women's. Australia's not been in the America's Cup now since what, 2000, 95, whenever that was, when those teams were in San Diego, 92, 95, I can't remember, but I guess 95. But regardless, I'm pulling for, I love the Price family.
Yes, they are terrific.
David and Christiane and Harry
all of
and
them.
Olivia, they've all been on the show. They're all Fosey. So we always cheer for Fosey, don't we?
Always.
Huh?
I was reminded that Stanford's national championship
sailing team, varsity sailing team.
Well, it's all women.
All women. You're not biased, are you?
I only speak for ability.
Oh, of course. Well, they are. It was terrific. I mean, they won the collegiate national dinghies last year.
Yeah.
In what's normally the co-ed division, and it was the first ever all women's team that won it. But they're good, and there are a lot of women in collegiate sailing, skipper and crew, who are fabulous.
Yeah.
Next cup, they will be racing drones. Hanfield says, Sweeney, radio-controlled pond yachts and PlayStation couch racing. Is this the future of sailing? I hope not. Yeah, Baton Rouge. It's not that far-fetched to have this event as simulator against simulator. Sadly, I think there's a lot of that already happening, Julia.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
It's, you're in the yachts, it's push-button racing now, almost.
I know.
Almost. Okay, Stingray. I sent a request today for my rental in Barcelona to extend it from 2 to... Wow. Nice to be retired and rich. Stingray's going to go to Barcelona for 4 weeks.
What a good idea. And were you invited?
Hopefully we're invited, Stingray, at least to stop by for a cocktail. Maybe for a little bit of paella. Paella.
No.
In Castellano.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you say paella here in North America, American Spanish, or South American Spanish, but in Castellano. How curious that the women's teams are not sailing in Jeddah, David James is saying. Well, who knows? Maybe they will.
Yeah, maybe they will.
Who knows, David? David. Speaking of the America's Cup, we have music for Ed Worley's America's Cup History Challenge, today's edition. And it's really a cool one. And you like the bongos?
Yes.
I thought, the America's Cup's kind of the 12-meter era, especially kind of a 60s thing, and kind of the beatnik and the hip. And that's why I put that bongo music in there behind Ed's America's Cup Challenge. And we're talking about the 1987 Cup, which, of course, was not in the States, the first one out of the States. It was in Perth, Western Australia. And we're talking about which team had the so-called vortex keel. That's the question. And Ed goes on to say the victory of Australia 2 in 83 forever changed America's Cup yacht design. The 87 Cup in Perth saw a wide range of 12-meter hull and keel designs. That's true. AC syndicates employed large design teams. I mean, larger than ever, big teams, aerospace companies, and supercomputers in a quest for design innovation to rival Australia 2. Okay, so which team had the so-called vortex keel? There is a picture of the vortex keel. You can sort of make out that big bulb. They had a huge bulb. I mean, it looked like something off a super tanker. And then these huge draggy wings that were quite long, fore and aft. So which America's Cup team in 87 was fitted with a so-called vortex keel? Was it, alphabetically, Courageous 4? Was it Kiwi Magic 85? Was it Kookaburra 3? Or was it Stars and Stripes 87? Julia, you get the ladies first.
Well, I don't really know, but because they were working on it, I would think that Stars and Stripes has a shot at that. But I don't remember any talk about that at all.
Julia says Stars and Stripes 87, and the audience says, starting at the very bottom, Ryman says C. Smith says A. Hanfield says the French. They're not even an option. Baton Rouge says Courageous, which was, I think, A from memory. Was that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Was it pointed at both ends? Jonathan Frank. It actually was not. Blackallers team, Baton Rouge. I know I misspelled. No, that would have been Julia's team.
Yep.
Blackallers team. Your team had the double rudder.
Yes.
Had the canard up front as well as the rudder in the back.
Double keel.
Well, it wasn't double keel. That was the double rudder. Well, it did have a double. Well, it did too.
Yeah.
Pelly Peterson boats Sferia. No, Sferia were not in Oz in 87. The Swedes were not there. You guys choose the evening. What is going on here? Okay. Any other answers? Graham Sweeney, yes, but you just can't trust the friend. The Dutch designer guy, Stingray, says, Jamie Hutchinson says B, Kiwi Magic. No, they were very traditional. They were fiberglass, which wasn't so traditional. Okay, are you ready for the answer?
Sure.
Courageous, Hanfield is saying, has got to have the record by a mile for most cups contested. Well, the boat was called Courageous 4 because this was her 4th cup contest. And the answer is Courageous. You see what I did there, Julia?
That was very good.
Did you like that? I worked really hard on that movement.
That's very good.
And that is a Guy Gurney photo from down in WA, taken down there. I don't know who the lady is, but I knew Stingray would appreciate that, as some others would. The answer is A, Courageous 4. There is the original Courageous, 12 US 26. And for the 87 Cup, the Yale Corinthian Yacht Club, Yuk, as they were called, still are, campaigned the 2-time AC winner Courageous. She was fitted with a vortex keel designed by the syndicate head, Dr. Leonard Green. He was the late, great Leonard Green. He was a strange one. And rechristened Courageous 4. That's what the keel actually looked like. That's obviously a drawing. And Dr. Green, Leonard Green, was quoted as saying, "It's a mighty bulb on the keel's nose with 2 long, thick wings across the bottom." It's actually what it looked like. Again, that's not a great photo, even though I tried to tune up as best I could the contrast and the saturation and the brightness of this image, the exposure of this image. You can see this bulbous, big nose and these long, draggy wings. Not really correct. The Vortex keel did not live up to expectations, and the grand old lady of the Cup finished DFL in the Louis Vuitton Cup, the Challenger Selection Series, dropping out after the first round robin. They were so slow and so off the pace and so awful that they called it off. Now, for extra credit, how many rounds robin were there?
For the Challenger.
For the Challenger Selection Series.
I have no idea.
There were three. It was quite a long, and there was a round robin in October. You remember there were 13 challengers, so
that's right.
Each of the other challengers raced the other. 12 races. There were 13 challengers. You raced each of the other challengers once, so it was 12. And then that was in October. Then November there was another round robin of 12. And then in December there was another round of 12. So you had 30, except Courageous dropped out. So you had, in theory, 36 matches, which hugely helped.
Oh, yeah.
The challengers learned from 83. Hugely helped the challenger in preparing for the Kookaburras because it was Kookaburra in Australia and Advance Australia, or Steak and Kidney. And they were protesting each other and having protests all night.
Right.
They didn't have nearly as much good racing. Then at the end of those 3 rounds robin, the top 4 teams advanced to a semifinals. America team, I was at New York Yacht Club's America One. We got cut out. Your team, St. Francis Yacht Club, went forward, but our team didn't go forward. Of course, the Kiwis looked very good. Chris Dixon driving the Plastic Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Got into the finals against Dennis. Even the French made it into the semifinals, racing Dennis in the finals. So you had then the semifinals and then the finals. And by the time Dennis was done disposing of the Kiwis, they were well and truly ready to race the Aussies and beat them. What was the score in the finals of the 87 Cup?
I don't remember.
4-0.
Wow.
Yeah, Ed Worley's reminding me, I don't want to think about it. We missed the finals by 1 point. And the boat, as it got windier and windier, the boat went slower and slower. And we sent for Olin Stevens. And Olin flew down. He looked at the boat, watched it sail. He flew all the way down there. It's a half world away. And he looked at it and he came in. He said, well, I know what the problem is. The keel's too small. This is the America 2 boats, all 3 of them. It turns out the 3 boats we built, 42, 44, and 46, 42 was the best of the 3 boats, the first boat. So he said the keel's too small, so the late, great Bill Packer had a new, larger keel designed and cast and built. Had to be built in the States in those days. You couldn't build a keel in like in Spain and Valencia when we had the Cup there.
Yeah.
You had to build it in your home country.
Right.
And then had it shipped to Australia. And it got to Australia too late to save us. We were already toast. I mean,
I can say I don't remember that happening at all. So,
well, a lot of people didn't know us. How we were too embarrassed. We were too embarrassed to admit it.
yes.
3 rounds robin followed by a semis and a final. So that is 2 days. I like the music. Julia.
Yeah.
Our AC History Challenge, courtesy of Ed Worley. Thank you, Ed, very much. He was there with the Newport Harbor Yacht Club team. Remember the name of their boat? Who remembers the name of the Newport Harbor Yacht Club boat? It was called Eagle. It was not very fast either, and it was known affectionately by those of us who were racing against it as Beagle. Thanks, Ed. Gordon Smith, yeah, I know you all like that. The following year in 88, was that at all content? Thanks, Stingray. Why would you build a fiberglass boat except to cheat? Dennis Conner in that famous press conference. God, that was great. Gotta go. Thanks, Fritz Mueller. Thanks to everybody who's been with us for this. Now, I'm going to do something that we've rarely done in these shows, except when we've done Road to the Gov Cup interviews with these wonderful kids from around the world, that sometimes go 15, maybe even, I don't think we ever had one go 20 minutes. But today there is a video that I'm going to play. It's 20 minutes and change. That is the coolest video I have seen about our sport in a long, long time. And it's actually a Sail GP video done by Rolex celebrating the history of the wing sail. You probably saw this in the show notes at the top of the show. The wing sail and foiling. So if you have to go, you're excused for the rest of the show. But have a look at this video in the last leg by Rolex for Sail GP. It's 20 minutes long, and you will love, most of you will love every minute of it. Have a look.
The very first time I foiled, I'll never forget it. I know exactly the point and I know exactly the view of when I first popped up.
The thing just comes out of the water and everything goes silent. The sensation that you're used to as a sailor disappears. You're just gliding.
It did feel like flying. It was just weird being so suspended up in the air.
It's one of the best feelings in the world. You just had the breeze on your face. I think it's really beautiful.
I remember thinking, I don't know where this is going, but I want to get good at this. Yeah, I didn't know at that point it was going to change the sport.
Welcome to Sail GP. 10 international teams, high-tech F50 foiling catamarans. Season 4 is go!
The F50 is the best boat in the world. It rewards you for pushing hard, but it also bites you.
It's a bit of a wild beast to tame. It's fast and it's really testing the limits.
Intense, exciting.
Foiling just doesn't get old.
To have your hands on the wheel, doing over 50 knots, punching gaps against the best in the world, how can you not get an adrenaline rush?
You're like, oh my gosh, like we're ripping through this fairway, like it's go time.
They just look like rocket ships. They look like from something so far in the future you couldn't even imagine it yourself.
You're moving at lightning speed through space.
When I grew up sailing, would never have dreamt of flying around above the water. It would have been, akin to putting a man on the moon.
My name is Will Roddering. I'm a foiling cat sailor here at the West River Sailing Club on the Chesapeake Bay. When you get to foiling, the boat lifts off, everything goes quiet, everything goes smooth, and it's just an amazing sense of flying. You get addicted to the speed. Once you've gone fast, you just want to keep going faster. And, I got the opportunity to buy this boat in 2018 from the Ben Ansley Racing Program. And this boat's kind of a little Sail GP boat. It's really crazy to have brought it back to the Chesapeake Bay where sailing on foil started 85 years ago. That Wright brothers moment, that first flight with the pioneers of foiling, William Carl and Robert Gilruth.
Michael Neufeld, I'm a retired senior curator at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. Robert Gilruth was an aeronautical engineer, grew up in Minnesota on Lake Superior. He was involved in some interesting aeronautical research, airfoil performance, wing performance. That helped him get a job at the NACA, which became NASA. Gilruth became the head of the Pilotless Aircraft Research Division at Wallops, a small barrier island off the Atlantic coast. At the beginning of the space race, Gilruth was responsible for putting the first American man in orbit.
2, 1, liftoff. Roger, understand, go for at least 7 orbits.
When President Kennedy came into office in 1961, he was looking for, what do we do to pass the Soviets in space? Gilruth directly spoke with the president about what the future program would be, but landing on the moon was such a gigantic leap in technology.
3, 2, 1, 0, liftoff. Apollo 11, this is Houston. You're well on your way now.
In 1969, The United States carried out its promise of landing a human on the moon before this decade is out, and Robert Gilruth was absolutely essential to all of that.
Airman from the planet Earth, first set foot upon the moon, July 1969.
Without him, it's hard to imagine we would have done it by 1969. Bob, as he was called by all of his colleagues, was really passionate about sailing, and nobody outside of NASA had much awareness of that. And he was very interested in building hydrofoils. This obviously come out of his work with aerofoils. And in 1938, he and his friend William Carl became the first people to sail the first sailing hydrofoil in the world on Chesapeake Bay.
My name is James Gregono. I was an early pioneer of foiling in the UK. Robert Gilruth invented a machine which flew above the water surface in a stable manner, and he was there before all of us. But what we did, different from Robert Gilruth, was to take a standard design and adapt it for hydrofoils. It was seeing birds gliding around the sky and marveling at the fact they didn't have to flap their wings and producing flight effortlessly with no energy. And I related it immediately to sailing. Foiling became a major hobby obsession. Icarus was the first successful sailing hydrofoil this side of the Atlantic, and this was a moment I'll never forget. I pulled the sails in, and the thing rose out of the water, and the controls were stable, and I was flying. Icarus was the fastest thing of her size by some margin. It is amazing to realize that the ideas I had on the back of an envelope as a schoolboy have been developed by others to the point we've got to with Sail GP, where these vast machines are going around at incredible speeds, using the same physics, but applied in a way we never imagined, and proving what we know all along, that if you want to go very fast, you fly.
These foiling F50s, fantastic boats, fast foiling, fun out there. Tight crossings at high speeds.
Trim it on, trim it up.
When they're up and foiling, the less drag you got, the faster you go.
I'm Dr. Patrick Wren. I'm a marine physicist and ocean engineer. So what is foiling? I get that question all the time. With conventional sailboats, we always sort of hit a wall, and it's associated with drag. You know, you have a sail and you're plowing through the water, and it's incredibly inefficient. Pushing all of this water weighs around 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter, requires a lot of energy, a lot of effort. A foil basically solves that. It lifts the boat out of the water, and now we can go faster and faster and reach speeds that no one ever thought was even feasible with a wind-powered craft, like an F50. When a helicopter is flying and the blades are going around, accelerating air downward, and that's what maintains the helicopter's altitude. And it's just F equals ma applied, basic Newtonian mechanics. The air is accelerating downward, it creates an upward force. A hydrofoil is essentially the same thing, but instead of a blade going around, you have a stationary foil. It's accelerating water downward, and that maintains the upward force. It's what's actually lifting the boat up out of the water and allowing an F50 to fly. It blows my mind whenever I think about it that this nearly 2.5-ton F50 is held up off the water by essentially one tiny little foil.
Yeah, before foiling, whether the boat was going 10 miles per hour or 20 miles per hour was imperceptible on camera.
2, 1.
Roll blue, take. But the moment the boat got up on the foils and you saw the spray, and even the sound of the foils, sounds like an aircraft. You can see the difference.
Look at the speed, pedal to the metal, hammer down.
It was a dramatic transformation of the sport.
We take 2 more out. Feel that light spot under Alcatraz.
I first foiled actually with Jimmy Spithill with Oracle Team USA. We were training for the America's Cup. I think it was late 2012 in San Francisco Bay, sailing a 72-footer that was originally a displacement yacht that suddenly became a foiling yacht. It was a little bit frightening, if I'm honest.
We were on the coalface of this major new development in sport, doing speeds we hadn't imagined these boats would do, and it was really scary.
I was about as far out of my comfort zone as I've ever been.
Ben is just sailing the boat with the windward rudder elevator just skipping on the surface of the water. just holding onto the steering wheel, and his eyes are like this big, you know, trying to keep the thing going. And I'm saying to him, you know, Ben, if you sailed with that thing either out of the water or in the water, it's probably going to be easier for you. And he said to me, you know, mate, this is the only way I feel like I can get it downwind. That's how he was regulating his pitching moment on the boat. And I realized that, okay, the sailors sometimes understand things that we just don't get, you know, on the design side. It's still an art. It doesn't all come out of a computer.
My name is Mike Drummond. I'm a yacht designer based in Auckland, New Zealand. The 2017 America's Cup, it was decided to race in AC50s. They were going to be a one design platform. After that cup, I thought, well, these are pretty cool boats. It was an inspired decision to say, okay, well, let's carry on. Let's develop some new foils, new wings, new sailing techniques, control systems, and that was the genesis of the F50 and Sail GP.
The F50 is an amazing boat. It's been a huge game changer, not only for Sail GP, but for the sport in general. If I look back at season 1, it was something new and exciting. Fast boats, close to shore, the best racing league in the world. It was still sailing, just turbocharged.
I think the F50 is basically everything we learn from foiling, and now we've got this tool that can be thrown around like a dinghy, and you're going well over 50 knots or just under 100 kilometres an hour. Man, the thing's a machine. It's an absolute weapon.
Now in Sail GP Season 4, what the viewer sees when you see the F50s racing around the course is the outcome of a lot of time and effort and thought and analysis to get this boat to do what it does. It doesn't sail itself. It's incredibly unstable. We have to push to get performance, but if you make a mistake, you get punished.
As a flight control in the F50, I'm keeping the platform out of the water and constantly adjust the foils. Every little input that there is, if it be a little bit of a sea state change, if it be more wind coming, less wind coming, require a change of the foil to keep it all incredibly stable and going incredibly fast. I got a master's in aeronautical and astronautical engineering, so I learned how to build rocket engines. My background has been nothing but helpful. Understanding how flow over foils work has given me a good jump start into that. And I'm making these decisions probably 3, 4, 5 times a second. Compensating, overcompensating, reducing, lifting. How accurate I am, the better and more stable the boat is, and the faster it's going to go through the water.
As with all yachts, the F50s straddle the boundary between air and water. You're producing forces in the air from the wind and reacting them with forces in the water. It's been called the ancient interface. Even the biggest supercomputer in the world is still estimating what the physics of the flow around an F50 is. But even though the boats are complex, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to sail it. You know, and the best sailor's main attribute is processing a large amount of information in a very short space of time.
The designers are so much smarter than I am, but what they don't have is, I guess, the skills at times to get out there and actually put the thing on rails. For me, it's really a collaboration, and you make a change, I'll go out there and test it, give you feedback, and we just continue this incremental gains.
When we look at all of the complex motions of vorticity and laminar flow and turbulent flow and why these little molecules are interacting the way they are, it's incredibly complicated. And there's a saying in the science community with physics that there's more mystery in a cup of water than there is in the cosmos. And the designer, when they're trying to make their F50 go 1 knot faster, has to, work with all of these mysteries, and you can go almost infinitely deep into questions that science still doesn't have answers to.
When the foiling started, for us, it was like going to the moon. You think, man, if it continues on the trajectory that it's been, I mean, what are the boats actually going to be flying now? They won't be in the water, who knows?
Foils in the Sail GP give the boat flight out of the water, but the wing sail in the F50 is a really good carbon copy of an airplane wing. It generates flow and power, so it's all those forces balancing together in the F50 that really drive the performance of the boat.
A wing sail, a solid wing, benefits from a very streamlined shape. The traditional cloth sail we've seen on regular sailboats, they're quite a bit cruder. You have a mast, cloth sail, stanchions, you have all this stuff. And all that stuff comes with a lot of drag cost. With a solid wing sail, we get rid of all of those appendages. It's an incredibly elegant and efficient shape. And what that does is it allows what's called the lift to drag ratio, sort of like how much bang you get for your drag buck is way higher than what you get with a cloth sail. And this enables the boat to go way faster.
When I look at the solid wings that we're working with at Sail GP, I marvel at the complexity and the ability to control them. But back in 1988, when we first saw Dennis Connor's Stars and Stripes in the America's Cup with a solid wing mast, it was an eye-opener.
John Marshall, a design technology manager for the Stars and Stripes wing sail catamaran. Essentially, why the wing is so good is that you can make it very deep, like a very full sail, and have a lot of power in light wind. But in heavy wind, you go from curved to flat. So you give the boat the ability to cover its vulnerabilities. Dennis Connor, who is very distrustful of advanced technology, said, we're going to go out and have a series of races between the two boats within Stars and Stripes Syndicate. The wing won every single race. And that was the decisive thing. You can have a lot of arguments about theoretical fluid dynamics, but if you don't win, it doesn't mean anything. I look at the Sail GP boats as a direct descendant of Stars and Stripes 88. The use of wing sails and the addition of foiling takes that whole concept to a significantly higher level.
The writing was on the wall way back then. If you want to go fast and perform, it's about wings, solid wings. By 2010, we had Oracle sailing the big multi-hull, and I was in awe with what they had achieved and how far they'd taken it.
We're talking the biggest wing ever built in the world here, and that includes aviation, aerospace. Like, no one had built a wing of this size. I remember sitting in the design room with Mike Drummond, and we just kept adding more area. But it's easy to do that when you're sitting at a computer. I'll never forget the first day I actually saw the thing in person. I was just like, what have we done here?
It ended up being 68 metres. It looked a little bit like an aeroplane coming into land with the flaps extended at the back. The future had arrived for us.
It was land of the giants, you know, and the thing that puts the trimaran into perspective is that boat couldn't go under the Golden Gate Bridge when the wing was up.
The F50 wing is very similar aerodynamically to the 2010 trimaran. It's an important part of the puzzle of the whole F50. If you just put a wing sail on a yacht, it won't transform it to the same degree. The F50 is a really integrated package.
The F50 is an amazing boat, how versatile it is. I think the 3 wing sizes has been a huge game changer, being able to be more diverse in the wing conditions you can sail.
The wing is creating lift through having shape or camber, and so we can adjust the amount of power in different parts of the wing. Compared to a conventional sail, we're not actually relying on the aero load to give the sail shape. We can actually force that shape in. And so to be able to get the most out of high-performance foiling boats, the wing is an absolute no-brainer.
It's the wing trimmer's job to make sure the boat is going full speed at all times. There's a big screen on the wing and there's a big screen on the cockpit just next to me. So there's a huge amount of information coming out of the yacht. There's 125 sensors giving us infinite amount of data points.
Our athletes are energy chasers. They're the ones harnessing the wind's energy up to 4 times the wind speed. And the F50 is the ultimate science experiment on water. It's drawing people into the sport. We've had 15,000 young people from all over the world come behind the scenes at Sail GP. And the maritime industry is now looking at the cutting-edge technology ingrained in the F50, including the wing sail and the hydrofoils to improve sustainability and hopefully create a better future for the planet.
90% of all goods is transported on the sea. The shipping industry contributes to 11% of the transportation part of greenhouse gas emissions. If you would compare that with a country, it would be the 6th largest country in the world.
Humanity have been sailing for 5,000 years or so, and then we forgot about it, and now we're in a way trying to rediscover the art and science of sailing. And I think this Ocean Bird project is trying to do that in a very modern way.
The vessel that we're working on has 40-meter high wing sails. If you compare to F50 wings, it's 10 meters higher than that.
Talking about this slide.
We're using the exact same physical principles in SailGP, but instead of racing 50 knots down the racetrack, we're using it to transport millions of tons of goods in a completely emission-free way.
We are designing something new that hasn't been designed before like this. This boat needs to be able to sail in almost all conditions, to be on time, every time, so that we can truly compete with combustion-driven ships. We need to become sustainable. We need to sail. We need to stop burning fuel. I see absolutely no reason when we look out on the ocean why not the majority of the fleet of commercial ships wouldn't be driven by wing sails, just like these. There is plenty of wind out there.
We do have this sense of urgency. We are working very hard to offer a solution to the current challenges. Foiling has been the key to the door. We have developed the Artemis e-foiler propulsion system, which is the combination of hydrofoiling merged with electrical propulsion. We are developing and launching next year a 150-passenger ferry, fully electric. The big upside of using e-foiling technology is the fact that once the boat is airborne, it's no longer subject to the waves, which allows us to go through sea states which are extremely challenging. The breakthrough is using flight control systems which are autonomous, which do not require inputs from the pilot, from the human. But the same concept that allow the F50 to foil on the SailGP circuit is what we use at Artemis Technologies to decarbonize maritime transportation.
In the F50, we're showcasing the cutting edge of technology for sailing. It's really the stuff of rocket scientists and satellites. We are developing new foils. They're a T-shape. The horizontal piece is made of titanium and is much thinner for the same strength. We have a new rudder too. It's stiffer so it doesn't flex as much, which will enable us a higher top speed. It's a finely balanced equation between the strength of the board, the strength of the hull, the strength of the rig. Of course, we're going to give the sailors a new toy and they'll have to go through a new learning curve.
We are still learning every day we hit the water. If the boats didn't change, we still wouldn't be sailing the boats at 100% of their capacity. You can never be a perfect sailor.
It's all the design in the background that makes the boats what they are. But at the end of the day, it's the sailors who make the difference.
There's a big moment in our sport. You know, how much computers do we want? How much human interaction do we want? Do we still want the boats to be able to make errors and fall off the foils?
I think you could put a computer doing my job and it would do a better job, probably. It updates 100 times a second, but then it's not a sport.
It'd be similar to saying, hey, in Formula One, why don't, instead of Max Verstappen braking, we'll just let the computer brake at the perfect time in every left-hand corner. You'd be like, well, what's the fun in that? No longer is it an athlete driving the car, no longer is it an athlete flying the boat.
Let's go, we go full on.
Ultimately, this is a human race. We don't want to let technology dominate. Who's got the most skill? That's really what SailGP's objective is. It's still a race between humans.
This is SailGP.
100% foiling has changed my life.
It's amazing what SailGP has done, right on the edge of what is possible with hydrofoiling craft.
The innovation, the science, technology, I think it's really just the beginning.
Foiling fast like a rocket out of the blocks.
Just could not have imagined 10 or 15 years ago that here we would be at SailGP sailing upwards of 100 kilometres an hour.
Puts on the afterburners.
I truly believe the next generation will take it further.
The boats will go faster. Their competition will get even closer.
Wow, it's tight here. Oh!
But right now...
What a start from the Australians!
I think I've got the best job in the world.
Next time on The Spirit of Yachting, a true epic, the Rolex Middle Sea Race.
Okay, Julia, what'd you think of that?
Oh, hats off to Rolex because it was a wonderful, full introduction to what's really happening that you can't see.
Do you disagree with Sangmeister? That's a nice production from IMG and Rolex, by the way. And that's Sail GP,
Yeah.
paid for by Rolex, presumably. Don Ludabo saying, wow. Stingray saying, this video is truly fantastic. You like it. You think it's marvelous. But you don't agree with Sangmeister. Sangmeister, John, is saying it's virtue signaling and it's almost Orwellian in the obstruction of truth. What do you think of that? You agree with
I don't
John?
know about what kind of truth. But
Well, I think he's reacting to that Swede designer who was saying we got to stop burning fuels and we got to get all the cargo around the world by wind power.
yeah. Well, they've been saying that for a while, but and some of it will help, no question.
Julie Aaron saying, wow, I just loved it. Thierry de Jong, fabulous. Loved every minute of that video, Gordon Smith. Thank you. The video is truly fantastic. Well, I knew it would get some discussion going. I knew, thanks again, Rolex. I leave your credit up there for a moment. But and I agree with Sangmeister. It made me a little uncomfortable when that guy, it was clearly, we got to get rid of fossil. We're not going to get rid of fossil fuels in my lifetime, your lifetime.
No.
Now, obviously, there's some things we can do, and who knows. But having said that, where did that video come from? Stingray asked. I have, usually it's people like Stingray in particular, who sends me a link, say, hey, this is just out, because he has he has search engines, being the Boeing former retired now Boeing coder that he is, software guru. And he has America's Cup search engines that pick up videos, stories, newspaper articles in foreign languages, like real time. I mean, the guy's got an amazing ability to, that is Stingray up in Seattle. But I also have some that are pretty good. And this morning I was looking through my YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's on the Rolex channel, and I'm subscribed to everything, as you can tell. I played that video at the top of the show. But anything that Rolex produces, whether it's about Le Mans or about watches or it's about tell me what, pops up on my on my YouTube search engine, as did that video this morning. It's just out. So most of you probably will have not seen it. If you want to get it again, it is on you. Just go on YouTube, search Rolex, and it's part of their yachting series, as you heard the promo at the end. Next up on the whatever it's called,
Middle Sea,
is the Middle Sea race. Exactly right, Julia. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's a little bit longer than we normally air here on this show. 20-minute video, maybe 3-minute video. In fact, love it. Thought-provoking. Mary Jude is saying MJ in Philly. Alex Hayworth, Icarus is back on the water, having been dug out, of a farm shed in Lincolnshire in the UK. Yeah, there was no mention of Rohan Veal, but, they really, I was impressed. That's an expensive video to produce, as those of you who are in that business or close to it would know. And I would say John Marshall, who several of you were saying, oh my God, there's John Marshall. How old is he? He looks pretty good. John was down in Newport Beach. He was inducted into the American Sailing Hall of Fame, the U.S. National Sailing Hall of Fame, a couple of weeks ago when I was down there doing the live stream. Yeah. And I hadn't seen John. I've been to war with John on the same side more than once, particularly the 88. He and I prosecuted that case, and he from a technical side, me from the legal side. And we're good mates. I hadn't seen him in a while. And his wife, Margarita Bottini Marshall, Italian journalist and photographer, is just really cool. It was great to see them in Newport Beach. He is arguably the smartest guy I know in the sport. Stan Honey's up there. Mike Drummond, who you saw in that video, is up there. Russell Coutts is a pretty bright boy. Ellison's a pretty bright boy. You can go on and on and on.
My introduction to this kind of stuff was in a book called The 40-Knot Sailboat, which was published in the 40s.
The what sailboat?
The 40-knot sailboat.
Oh, the 40-knot sailboat.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Do you still have that book?
Yes.
Well, let's dig it out.
Yeah. But I was trying to understand. That was when I was trying to understand sailing, and it's one of the books that I got, and it explains all this stuff, but its foils were inches rather than feet. But it did the whole thing and lifted the whole boat out of water. And
Well, maybe didn't get it out of the water, but it helped reduce the
it
wetting.
got it out of the
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I thought you would. And it's, again, if you just go on YouTube, which is, after all, the second largest search engine. Google owns YouTube. It's the second largest search engine in the world after Google. And just Google Rolex or Rolex foiling or Rolex, yachting. It'll pop right up. And it just was released.
It's
this
really beautiful.
morning.
Yeah. And it gives a feel more than just words.
Well, and there were some people I'd never heard of. Who that professorial type, youngish guy who had the tied back white hair. I'm sorry, I'd never heard of him. And I mean, he was very articulate and really cool.
I was thinking about our speaker on the comprehensive computational skills that he was talking about. This is all goes to prove that the human mind does that automatically.
Well, one can only hope. And one can only hope the human mind continues to do it automatically, even at our relative advanced ages. Speaking of which, Julia, I don't know if it's the painters next door or if it's on Friday. This guy must not work on Fridays, your neighbor back here in the building next door, because I think I have a contact high from the marijuana or the hash, whatever he's been smoking since this morning. He's got a real blaze going on over there. So if I'm more crotonic than usual, it's because I'm high, a contact high for this idiot back here smoking pot. Which gets us to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And there were a lot of submissions. The Thanksgiving, the turkey submissions are coming in fast and furious.
Yeah.
So I wait here for the rub down. Then I go in for the sauna. Sweet. Again, Greg Phillips, the famous Australian supporter of Thanksgiving. He likes that. He likes these Thanksgivings. This came from Stingray. Before we work on artificial intelligence, why don't we do something about natural stupidity?
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you, Stingray. You're so right. And then, of course, we have to have a drinking thing in here too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this came from Ed Worley. After reading the negative effects of drinking and smoking, I've decided to quit reading.
I've already done that.
You have? No, you haven't. And finally, just something for our beloved sport. It's a maze. It gets you sucked in and you'll never get out. Warning, once in, never out. Several of you sent that to us, and we appreciate that.
That's a good one, too.
Very much indeed. My latest aspiration, Stingray is saying, is to have a giant bushy beard and ponytail, Graham Sweeney style.
Yes, it's absolutely unbeatable.
Don't bogart that joint, Tom. What does that mean? Bogart that joint. It all comes down to less surface area regarding the foils. Yep.
Right.
From Waterlust, check out their YouTube. Okay, we will do that. The professional guy, Patrick Wren, Chris Dewar is saying, thank you. I'm going to look that guy up and try to get him on the show. Seriously, if anybody knows him, has a link to this professorial, not professional. Thank you, Chris Dewar. Patrick Wren, R-Y-N-N. I got to write that down, Julia, on my little notepad here, because I think he would be a good guy to have on the show, don't you think?
Yes, indeed.
I can still write, even though I'm high. But contact, I mean, really, did you smell it when you came down here?
I didn't.
It was so awful. Okay. The finish line, we are across the finish line now. Julia, you're witness.
We had quite a sale today.
We did.
And it was nice.
It was indeed. Thank you. Like, follow, and share. And, of course, we leave comments. People can't believe we had a big discussion over it with these parents. They say, you leave comments open on this show, you do? Yeah. Don't people come on and troll you and say that you're fat or ugly or that you're stupid? Or no, we don't, because we have the best Fozy. We have the best people watching this show.
Right.
And they're so respectful of everyone.
Yes.
And we appreciate it very much. And we also appreciate your support via Patreon, patreon.com/TJV. join/Sailing Illustrated to give us a few bucks a month so we can pay for the internet bill.
Please.
And the equipment here in the studio, which
Yes.
seems I keep trying to make it, simplify the studio, but I think it keeps growing, not quite like Topsy. But thank you, Mary Jude. Thanks, everyone. Gordon Smith. We hope all of you have a great weekend wherever in the world you are. And Julia, last thoughts?
Take a deep breath and enjoy whatever's around you.
That's very, very good advice, I think, for all of us. And remember that on Tuesday, we'll ask him, Stingray, about his beard. I don't know if he has a ponytail or not, but this guy is you should see the photos he's already sent.
Yeah.
For today's show, but he couldn't make it. I hope Graham, you're watching. I hope your dog is okay and your power is stable, not only over the weekend, but for our show next Tuesday when Graham Sweeney, our Fozy from Scotland, will be with us with his photo essay.
Very talented man.
He is very talented indeed. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend or rest of your weekend wherever in the world you are. Remember to sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. We'll see you on Tuesday.